It is Wednesday again. This is the Wednesday weekly learning session for local bartending school. My name is Carlos Navia. I do this every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You're always welcome to be a part of this class. Ask me any questions about anything. If you're on the page where you're probably seeing me for local bartending school, there is a link to get into this live Zoom class and be a part of it and ask questions about anything. If you're a student of the class, when you get to the drop-down menu, you can select if you're already an enrolled student, and it'll take you directly to the class. If you're not an enrolled student of local bartending school, it will ask you for a little bit of information, and then it will give you the link to come into this class. So I have been a bartender for many, many years in several states. I've been working for local bartending school for about 8 years now. I do a lot of one-on-ones, I do in-persons. If you're in the school, you might also recognize me from some of the videos in the online portion of the course that I shout out here on the Central Coast of California, where I live here in San Luis Obispo. So I always like to kind of talk about some different things, and go over some different things. So June 15th, 16th, June 15th today, Ides of June. Got some things coming up next month, Tales of the Cocktail. And I do recommend just go to talesofthecocktail.org. Once again, it is a nonprofit society. Their mission is for the advancement of the hospitality industry. So it's a really great resource. You can be on their email newsletter. They send a lot of great information out, very, very cool stuff. But they also have their annual convention, Tales of the Cocktail, every July in the French Quarter in New Orleans. And it will be in person, full on once again this year. Last 2 years, it has not been full on in person because of COVID. So July 25th to 29th in the French Quarter in New Orleans, Louisiana. But because of COVID, they have also put it on a digital platform for the last 2 years. And if you go to their website, you can click on it. I did see they're going to have the digital platform again this year. It should be 100% free. It has been for the last 2 years. To download the app, once again, it's free, and you're welcome to be a part of Tales of the Cocktail. Has very good resources on it, a lot of conferences on tons of different topics, a lot of demonstrations and stuff like that as well. In fact, in some of the live conferences, you may have a panel of people from all different corners of the world. And it's very cool because you can type in questions and a moderator will ask the questions to those people. So you can really get answers and views and stuff, from a bunch of different people from all around the world. And you can always watch the videos and the tape stuff that they have as well, which is very, very cool and a lot of fun. So, check that out. Once again, it's a great resource. It's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it because I always see some fun stuff. And, I always learn just a lot, listening to people talk, and a lot of the spirit professionals and a lot of the distillers and the people that make the spirits what we use are featured as well. And it's really interesting to see from their point of view how they make the product and how they get to the end result of that product and the flavor that they're looking for and the consistency that they're looking for. So it is a lot of fun, and the lineups and the app should be coming out pretty soon. The other thing they have during Tales of the Cocktail that I thought was very cool is a virtual job fair. So it was a great resource, especially for people just starting out, in this industry. And even if you didn't necessarily find a job in the area you live in, there's a lot of employers there just giving advice and kind of helping out, So it was a really good time because, maybe there's not a job that fits you or is in your area necessarily, but there's a chance to hear from a lot of employers what they're looking for, what you could do better, what you could do better on your resume, what you could do better in an interview, how you could answer questions better and stuff like that. So I felt like it was really, really good for that reason. So they should have it again this year. I think it's a great resource. It's a lot of good information. So check that out, download the app and check that out. It's very, very cool. This comes up every once in a while. Let's see if I get this picture up. So this comes up every once in a while. And people ask about flair bartending and doing flair bartending. I was, 14 years old when the movie Cocktail came out with Tom Cruise. I have watched it in the last couple of years. Same opinion as when I was 14. It's kind of stupid. It's a love story. And in the end, it's very, very tragic. The way that the other bartender goes out, in the end. Plus, if you really watch it closely, a lot of the bottles they're flipping around are empty. And when they're not, they're just spraying stuff all over the place. So I didn't think it was that great a movie. But, when I was 14, saw it, I was like, I totally want to be a bartender. I want to do that. And I did. And that's what I ended up doing. So if you want to practice, flair bartending, There's a lot of tricks on YouTube, and I'm sure TikTok as well, where you can just watch the videos and see what people do and practice it yourself, because that's all it's really about, is just practicing and getting those moves down. And they sell a practice bottle that looks like this, Flair Performance bottle, and it's just weighted, so it feels real weight, and you just kind of practice with it, toss it around, and it won't break. Now, if you don't want to go invest in a practice bottle like that, you can do it the way I was taught, which is just get a bottle from a bar. And I suggest a bottle from a bar because generally people will take home 750 milliliter bottles, where in the bar we use 1 liter bottles. So you want to be practicing with a 1 liter bottle because that's what's going to be in the bar, and that's what you need to get used to. Get just a regular 1 liter bottle out of the bar, any well liquor. I actually did it with Jack Daniel's bottle because that was my favorite and I liked it and I wanted to have some fun with it. And cover the entire thing in duct tape. Just duct tape it all the way around, get a nice thick coat, put extra duct tape on the top part where the corners are of the bottle and on the bottom of the corners, because that's what it's going to hit, and that's where it will break if it catches the corners here or here. So wrap the whole thing up, extra duct tape on the bottom, extra duct tape on the top part right here, all the way up to the neck. Put a pour spout in it, put water in it, and practice. Know that you're going to sling the water everywhere. It is going to make a mess. That's, most people don't like to treat their kitchen like a bar because it's not built for it. You don't have floor drains and stuff like we have in the bar, but it's real simple to do. And, wrap that duct tape around it and practice. The duct tape will, for the most part, keep it from breaking when you drop it. And here's the thing. Should you drop it and it break, the glass doesn't go anywhere because it's already taped in there. It just smashes, you pick it up, you throw it in the garbage, you start with a new bottle. So if you want to make your own practice Flair bottle, that's the way to do it. Get a real 1 liter bar liquor bottle, wrap the whole thing in duct tape, put water in it, pour force spout in it, and just practice and practice and practice and practice and practice till you really, really get it down. And you can do all those very, very cool moves. And once again, YouTube and TikTok can show you a bunch of different moves and teach you how to do them and teach you how to practice them as well. So, I was thinking about what to talk about this week, and we do have 4th of July coming up, and we will talk a little bit about 4th of July next week because I will not be here the week after because I have a knee replacement coming. Hooray, hooray. But I wanted to talk a little bit today just about gin. Gin has been around for a very, very long time. It started in the early mid-1700s when British soldiers were fighting alongside Dutch soldiers, and the Dutch had a drink called Guinevere. And Guinevere loosely, or not even loosely, Guinevere in Dutch just translates to juniper. And it was just that distilled grain liquor they made and flavored with juniper, which is the big underlying characteristic in most gins and what we think of. When we think about gins most of the time is that piney taste, something like a Tanqueray or Lemon Drive, like a Beefeaters or something like that. It's got that real pininess from the juniper berries that are used to flavor it. So basically they took the idea from that. They took the idea from the Dutch and they started producing it. By the mid 1700s, it was being widely produced in the UK. What they call Uncle Tom's gin, which is a variety of it we'll talk about, was very prevalent. And there are, dozens and dozens of distilleries across the country. And it was basically the king of the clear spirits at that point. You had your whiskeys and you had your brandies, stuff a little different like that. But it was the dominant main clear spirit, and it kind of dominated. We got into the 1960s and basically the rise of vodka, and vodka kind of made its way from Russia and, started going into Europe and started becoming very popular in the United States. It really led to the fall of gin and the popularity of gin massively, massively declining. As we get into like the 80s and 90s, and when I started bartending, gin was an afterthought. It was, a couple of gin drinkers here and there that like their Tanqueray, like their Beefeater, but that was about it. They were all very piney. They all had that heavy juniper taste, and it only appealed to a certain sect of clientele. But the truth is, gin can be flavored with anything because that's all it is. It's pure grain alcohol that we're going to flavor it with botanicals. So it's a great spirit because it doesn't have to be with that overwhelming piney taste. We're finding a lot of the new gins is that they are, that is not the characteristic flavor that we're accenting. But although it is still used in there, it is still a part of it. So kind of early 2000s, gin really started making a comeback, and we started to see some new, different styles of gins coming out that were just that less juniper taste, less of that piney taste in there. One like Hendrick Gin, for instance, uses rose petals and cucumbers, has a much different taste to it. I believe that came out in, I think, around 1999. And then about 2000, Tanqueray 10. And that was Tanqueray. Regular Tanqueray is very heavy on the juniper, very piney smelling, very piney tasting. That was their alternative to it, of the kind of new age gin, of making the Tanqueray 10 that was much less juniper and really centered around a lot of citrus notes, which is the key flavor that you're tasting that Tanqueray 10. So it really did at that part start to move the landscape of gin and kind of start to bring gin back into the zeitgeist and into the popularity of the consumers and bars. So make gin, it's just that. Distill grain, corn, wheat, barley, any of these things into, once again, pure grain alcohol, 95%. But then we're going to flavor it with botanicals. So in general, gin is flavored by distilling the grains into the pure grain alcohol and then redistilling it by adding the flavoring materials that we're going to put into it, the juniper or the coriander or the different spices or things that are going to give it that flavor. Then when it is redistilled, it is now distilled with the essence of those plants in it, which give gin its flavor. So there's some different types of gin, although some of them, and that's true, do introduce flavors after the second, distillation process in there, to flavor it kind of after the distillation, I should say. Call it kind of, sorry, get some salt water. That would be referred to as compound gin, or what they might have referred to as bathtub gin in the Prohibition in the 20s, which was, by the way, literally made in people's bathtubs, and they would ladle it out and pour it into bottles and sell it to people, and people would go blind and die. Anyway, so yeah, it's the process of distilling alcohol, and then I'm just taking that alcohol and I'm flavoring it with some sort of botanical, with some sort of plant. Basically, you could do this yourself at home if you wanted to by using vodka and adding some sort of flavoring to it to, in essence, make it gin. And I know it does kind of bring up the topic, well, is flavored vodka then just gin? Yes and no. I think you could probably debate that. You could probably debate very easily that it is, and I'm sure some traditionalists or someone who's a distiller or something like that would argue over the finer points that it is probably not. But that's our compound gin, the distillation that we're now just adding flavors to or flavoring after the distillation. London dry gin has very specific kind of standards in the process. You have to distill the grain, then you have to put in all the flavoring, the juniper, the coriander, whatever you're going to put in there, and then redistill it. The only thing that can be added to London dry gin after the second distillation is a small amount of sweetener and water to bring the ABV down, to dilute it, to bring it down to a palatable level, and that's it. So it doesn't have to be made in London. Definitely has that juniper taste to it, but the biggest thing is that it's all the flavors put in through the second distillation, and nothing is added additionally. It's a small amount of sweetener, and once again your water to dilute it. Plymouth gin can only be made in Plymouth. That's kind of the big one on there. Sweeter than London dry, or like your distilled gins. And there's only one distillery left. Has a little bit of a more subtle juniper taste to it. So if you see Plymouth gin, that is it. That is the last distillery. That is the last one still making Plymouth gin. A little bit of different flavor because it's a little bit sweeter and less junipery than your London dry. The Old Tom gin, once again, which is kind of the first one, the distilleries that took over. Closer to the modern styles, much sweeter, It does have that juniper taste, but not too heavy, a little more subtle, a little lighter on that. And then, distilled gin, which most of them are done that way, like the London Dry, where nothing is really added after the second distillation. Everything, all the flavors and stuff are put in there in the second distillation. And we have kind of what they're referring to now. And as a bartender, I think that wrote an article and kind of coined this phrase a little time back, new Western style gin. And that's a lot of kind of the newer ones we're running into that are low to no juniper taste to them. They're really not tasting juniper. It's not something that's accented. It's not the main taste or the main flavor of the gin. Some of them like Hendrick's, I was talking about, rose and cucumber. Trying to read my own notes, rose and cucumber with other, floral notes and roots and herbs and stuff like that. Once again, Tanqueray 10, and that's the citrus. They're using, I believe, it's orange peels and different kinds of citrus to give it a little bit of different flavor, as opposed to their regular Tanqueray that is just that super, super juniper, heavy pine taste. And Bombay Sapphire as well. And that's kind of Bombay's, take on it, as opposed to the regular white label London Dry gin that is going to be that heavy juniper taste. The Bombay Sapphire has much lighter on the juniper, and you're tasting different things and tasting some different kinds of roots and herbs and stuff that they're kind of cool. I wish I had one out here, but I can't seem to be able to get one. If you look at the Bombay Sapphire bottle and you look at the front of it and you turn it to one side, on the side of it are 5 plants. If you turn it to the other side, on the other side of it are 5 more plants. And that's exactly what's in it. They're literally giving you the recipe to it. They distill the grain, they introduce those 10 plants, and they're from all around the world, which is very cool. They're from all corners of the world. They introduce those 10 plants, they redistill it, water, a little bit of sweetener, and we have our Bombay Sapphire gin. So it's, and actually I think their process is done a little differently than that, I should say. I believe to make Sapphire, they distill the grain, and then when they distill it the second time, they don't actually put the plants into the liquid to be distilled. They hang them in a basket over the hot liquid, and as it evaporates and goes up through the basket, it takes on the aromas and the flavor of the plants that are in the basket in the still. So it's, I forgot they call it an evaporation, a steaming evaporation is how they actually flavor it. It's a completely different kind of process and makes theirs a little unique. I used to drink Bombay Sapphire, I'm a fan. That was kind of my go-to gin. So, but yeah, a little different way of a process, but in that second distillation, yes, the steam's coming up and they're steaming those ingredients and getting the flavors and the oils and the essence out of them that infuses into the liquor. I think I've got some pictures of a couple of these. We got our Tanqueray 10. Looks like that guy, a little different than the Tanqueray bottle. Really good stuff. I really did like this a lot when it first came out. I was very much into drinking it. Probably definitely drink it again over London Dry or any of those super, super juniper gins that we have. This one is very cool. And it actually kind of started with this one, even predating Hendrick's or Tanqueray 10, Tanqueray Malacca gin. And it was short-lived. This is their attempt to create something different, to kind of create that different style, that new Western style gin by having with the lower no juniper. And it didn't go very well. So that was only on the market for a very short time before then they eventually went to the Tanqueray 10, instead. This one, I'll show the picture there with Ryan Reynolds, Aviation. Low juniper taste. It's made in Portland. I believe pretty recently, or somewhat recently, I should say, that old Ryan Reynolds pictured there sold his interest in Aviation for $610 million. This is a pretty solid, good payday for old Ryan Reynolds there, to Diageo. And if you guys aren't familiar with Diageo, you guys and gals, I should say, aren't familiar with Diageo, they're a brand that represents some of the biggest liquor brands that are out there. They represent Guinness. They represent the Nolet's family distillery, which is Nolet's Gin and Kettle One. Johnny Walker is a Diageo company. Ron Zaccapa's Diageo company. A lot of the biggest and best liquors in the world are all owned by Diageo, and Aviation Gin is now owned by Diageo as well. It's a very cool one, and I really wish I had more time to try to taste all of these and give a review of what they all taste like. This is another really popular one out here where I live, Monkey 47. This is a German gin. It's called Monkey 47 because it's made with 47 different botanicals to flavor it. Once again, the juniper is not going to be the main accented flavor. You're going to taste a lot of other things, herbs, roots, coriander is a common one in there as well. You're going to taste a lot of that different stuff. I think I've only tried Monkey 47 once. I'd like to give it another go and, kind of get a better review because I didn't drink it straight. I drank it with something else, and kind of see what I think of it, just by itself, just plain by itself. And there's some different flavored ones coming out as well that we'll see. Got a picture here. We can see our Hendrix here. Actually, they're making some new different flavored Hendrixes. Oh. There we go. And, they're making some new different Hendrixes. I haven't gotten too far into them as far as exploring what kind of the differences are to some of their new ones. But you see the Doggo there, made by Snoop Dogg. And it is, distilled with botanicals and then flavored with strawberry. So it's a strawberry flavored gin. I haven't tried that one yet. I'm going to do some strawberry stuff here, and I think it would be a great compliment. But one of the cool things, and I think what people are finding out, and the modern bartenders and the evolution and kind of the trends in what we're in right now, and we're seeing is that because all gins are different and they all have different flavor, it's making the drink different when I use a different gin. Using a different vodka, not going to change the taste of a drink all that much. But using a different gin is really, really going to taste the flavor of that drink, of what you're left with in the end. But you'll also see there, the one up front, Empress 908, is it's a gin that comes from British Columbia. It comes from Victoria Island in British Columbia in Canada. It actually comes from a hotel called the Empress Hotel. Surprisingly, and it was invented in 1908. That's where the 1908 comes from. So it was invented at the Empress Hotel in Victoria, British Columbia. It is purple, has that kind of cool blue purple color to it because it is colored with butterfly pea blossoms that grow there on the island at the hotel. Victoria Island is very cool. I have been there. It's got this huge gardens and flowers and stuff. So it's got some very cool stuff that only grow on Victoria Island, not really anywhere else, and definitely not on the mainland of Canada. So yes, butterfly pea blossoms gives it that color. If you put it in a glass and mix it with like Fever Tree Tonic, squeeze a little lime in there, kind of turns blue. Now, I watched guys at the Country Club I worked at here do it tons of times. I did not see any mystical change of color. But they seemed very happy. It seemed to impress them. If they're happy, I'm happy. So that's it. It turns blue, but I didn't see anything too crazy with that. Those are just some of the ones you might see out there. Bombay Sapphire, which I love, which was mine. And they've got a couple new ones as well. This is one that came out, I believe, last year, which is their Bombay Sapphire Bramble. And this one's flavored with blackberries and raspberries. So this is kind of their berry flavored gin. I haven't had a chance to try this yet. I would love to, but fortunately, I got 2 kidneys, only 1 liver. So we'll do what we can. But this is a very cool gin. I thought I'd like to try that. It's got some berry flavors to it, which would be great in some different kinds of recipes. And they also have, Bombay Sapphire has a new one that has recently come out, which is Bombay Sapphire Eastern Gin. And I'm very curious because there's not a lot of information about it. I'm very curious to kind of see what it is that one's all about. But it's sort of a new thing that you're coming into now, Eastern gins. For a very long time, different plants and spices and herbs from the Orient and Southeast Asia have been used to make gin. they were just exported to different countries and the gin was made there. Now it's become a thing of making, the gin in those regions and making gin for those regions and of, the plants that are in that region. Once again, if you look at the Bombay Sapphire bottle, you're going to see a couple of ingredients that are from Southeast Asia that are in there that are already used to make that product. Very cool. And once again, one of the cool things about gin is it can be local and it can be very specific to what grows in the area you live in or what grows in the area in which it's distilled. A big thing where I live, and I talked about this before, is people distilling their own liquor because they can't get a liquor license. And I've tried a lot of the gins in the area. I have not found any one of them that I would necessarily recommend, but hey, guys get an A for effort to try and bless their hearts. So it is really great that you have all these different flavors. So yeah, I just saw an article about 2 weeks ago about Eastern style gin, which is what kind of created the idea for today's class and just to talk about gins. But it's still something that's very new that, it is really kind of starting out and taking off right now. So I'm not sure the characteristics of it. I'm not sure what exactly they're distilling it from, what exactly they're flavoring it with. It is something I want to research more, but that is kind of the new thing. And what you may see coming around or definitely appearing in your bar in your hometown are some, Asian made gins, some Southeast Asian made gins, which I'm always happy to try something new and see how it works out and see how it does for me. So, you can make some great gin cocktails. It's hot where I live. I'm starting to sweat out here a little. But it's that summertime time of year. So what are some good gin cocktails that we can make that are light and refreshing and perfect for the summertime? Beach, pool, lake, river, wherever you're hanging out, wherever you're having a good time. Get some of my equipment out here. And we'll have a little fun, do a couple of demonstrations here and have a little fun today. All right. So I'm going to get my ice scooper. I'm going to open up my ice. All right. So easiest one to start off with, really, really simple, Tom Collins. Now, most places, you're just going to use gin, sweet and sour mix out of a container like this, something like that, and soda water on top. Now, if you taste the bar sweet and sour mix just by itself, it tastes like lemonade that needs a lot more sugar. It tastes like really sour liquor. Alcohol all has sugar in it. It kind of balances well with the sweet and sour bar mix. It's kind of the perfect complement. It's sweet and it's sour. Putting the soda water on just gives it bubbles, gives it effervescence. It's sweet, it's sour, it's got bubbles. You can do a Tom Collins with whiskey, it's a John Collins. You can do it with vodka, it's a Jane Collins. But since we're talking about whiskey today, we're going to do it with whiskey. But instead of doing our sweet and sour mix, let's go ahead and do more of a handcrafted style, traditional style, handcrafted Tom Collins here. So I'm going to move a little stuff out of the way, get my cutting board, get my knife. Okay. So sweet and sour mix, in essence, lemon juice, sugar, water. If I get the bottle out of my kitchen, it's got a lot of big words in there that are preservatives. It's probably got some food coloring and some other stuff like that in there. But really, just lemon juice and sugar. And we'll see a lot of recipes, like in the bar book especially, that call for just lemon juice and sugar. And in essence, you're making your own sweet and sour mix. Please take the labels off before you use them for. You're just making your own sweet and sour mix. And I like that the local bartending school book puts the handcrafted way in there, so that you kind of know the traditional way to do it, because that's definitely made a comeback. Handcrafted cocktails are a huge, big thing that are in right now. So I'm going to cut my lemon in half here. I'm going to grab my handy dandy mixing tin. Put about 2/3 ice in there. I don't fill it up too full. so I can't get my pint glass into there. And we're going to start out with just our 1.5 ounces here of our gin. And once again, you know, depending on the gin you use, what kind of gin you're using, it's really going to give a different flavor as far as mixing that sweet and sour mix and that soda water. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I jump my 1.5 ounces of gin in there. Once again, this is not alcohol. This is just colored water for me to do a demonstration that kind of give you an idea. I don't want to use real alcohol because I don't want to waste it. And unfortunately, I just don't have time to drink all the drinks I make out here. So got my gin, my 1.5 ounces. I'm going to go ahead and get my sugar and sweeten it up. And just a nice big bar spoon of sugar in there is perfect for one drink. Now I need my fresh lemon juice. So we're going to do 1/2 ounce of fresh lemon juice. And once again, half a lemon, half a lime is about 1/2 ounce. It's nice to take these little nubs off before you put it into the squeezer. Sometimes this will come down on the nub, hold the piece of fruit in half. You can't get a good squeeze that way. It's coming down on the flat surface, as you'll see. It pushes right through the middle. Gives me a nice, good squeeze in there of my lemon juice. All right, that's it. I've got my gin, I've got my sugar, I've got my lemon juice in there. So pop that in there, come back over slowly, give it a nice big shake, get that nice mixed up there, a little bit diluted, and get that sugar a chance to dissolve in there with the rest of my ingredients. Now we're gonna get some fresh ice here in our Collins glass. Because of course, what else would we serve a Tom Collins in but our tall Collins glass. Give this a nice strain. There we go. So we have our lemon juice, our gin, our sugar. And then just top it off with a little bit of club soda. Just like that. And I'll give it a little garnish here. On the side. Nice little garnish on the side. Give her a straw. Oh, my lemon won't stay. And the garnish on the side. Give it a straw. Give it a lemon. Set it down there. Boom. We have our Tom Collins. Great, great classic cocktail. Very refreshing. Very light. Easy to do. Perfect for the summertime. But old school, traditional, and really, really easy to do. Even the old school, you know, handcrafted way. It just means, you know, that we're not using any pre-made mixes or anything. We're squeezing fresh juices in there. So another good old school cocktail by Tom Collins off to the side that we can do is a Negroni. So let me get my equipment cleaned up here and rinse this out just a touch. So Negroni, another classic. You know, it can be served up, it can be served on the rocks, just like a martini. It's done both ways. We'll go ahead and do this one. We're going to do it on the rocks, but we'll give it a nice stir before we do it on the rocks. So I'm going to bring out my bucket glass here. I really like stirring stuff in a pint glass, or if you have one of those kind of nice new ones that they have, glass mixing tins that come up and kind of look like beakers, although they might have, you know, nice etched glass or look a little nicer than your average beaker. I like using them just because, you know, it gives the customer an opportunity to see the booze going into the glass. By mixing in the tin, they can't see what's going on. This way they can see and they can witness what is happening. So if I'm going to do a Negroni here, I'm doing equal parts of gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari. Now, sweet vermouth is fortified wine. It's from red wine. It's got extra alcohol in it to make it stronger. Campari is an Italian aperitif. It has the taste of bitter fruit. People often drink it on the rocks with soda water and an orange. The orange kind of sweetens up the bitterness of it. And it's also used here in and our Negroni. So I've got some stuff here that looks like Campari. We're going to throw an ounce of that in there. Now I've got my sweet vermouth bottle here, and we'll throw an ounce of sweet vermouth in there as well. And then just be an ounce of the gin of your choice. And once again, depending on what kind of gin that is going to affect the flavor of your Negroni and give it kind of a different taste. So got all my ingredients in there. Give it a nice stir here. Good 9 or 10 stirs, get it nice mixed up. A little diluted, but it's not going to be as watered down as if we were shaking it. And I will come back with some fresh ice here to strain it over. All right. And once again, I can put my screen right in there in the pint glass, just like I can with the mixing tin. And pour out my Negroni. And then to finish it off, we're going to need us an orange twist. So if you're using one of these vegetable peelers to take a twist off the side of a piece of fruit, the key is move the fruit, not the peeler. Put the peeler to the side and move the fruit, and it'll come off nice and easily, just like that. The same thing I'm going to do with this, like any other twist. I'm going to go all the way around the edges. Squeeze the oils over the top. Set it in there nicely like that. A couple straws, napkin, and we have our Negroni ready to go. Great summertime, great wintertime, great in the spring, great in the fall. It's just a great, great cocktail. So there's another good gin idea. Our classic Negroni there. Now I want to do this one because it's made a comeback to aviation. For many, many years, we couldn't get one of the main ingredients in it here in the United States, creme de violet, which is not creamy. It's just got a purple, a purple color to it, got the translucent purple color to it. But without that, it wasn't really an aviation. It wasn't the same. So in 2007, an importer started bringing it back into the United States. We now have it again. We can now do true aviations again. So we will do our aviation here and give it a go. So I'm going to grab my handy dandy mixing tin once again. And fill about 2/3 of the way with ice, just like that. So of course, we're going to start with our main spirit, which is going to be the gin of our choice. We're going to do 1.5 ounces of that. Into my mixing tin. Then what we need is a little maraschino liqueur. To also be clear, I would just do 1/2 ounce of maraschino liqueur, give it a little cherry color, or a little cherry flavor, I should say, not color. Maraschino liqueur is clear. And we're going to do again 1/2 ounce of fresh lemon juice. Okay, and then, of course, our key ingredient to give it its color, our violet cream. We've got some violet cream looking purple liquid there. It's about 1/4 ounce, maybe 1/2 ounce of that, just a little bit. Gives it a nice floral flavor, a nice floral color. I grab my martini glass here. Ice in my martini glass. Got my martini glass chill over here to the side. All right, so got my gin, maraschino liqueur. I've got my lemon juice. I've got my creme de violet. Pop it in there once again. My 6010 is going to lock in there. I'll give it a nice shake. That nice and mixed up. Pop it off there. Let's see what my color looks like here. It's got that light purple color to it. Give it a little shake. A little more will drip out of it. So, and there we go. Got a nice light purple hue to it. Almost kind of looks like the skies. Now, to finish off our aviation, we will give it a lemon twist. We will give it a flaming lemon twist. Once again, take my peel off. Now, the key to doing a flaming twist, is to make sure that the fruit is room temperature. If the fruit is cold, it's not going to work. You're not going to squeeze the oils out. You're not going to get the right effect. So, same way, we're going to go all the way around. And then if we simply squeeze this into an open flame, you should see a little small ignition of the flame. Just like that, drop it in. And we have our aviation with a flaming lemon twist on top of it. And the flaming twist does give it a different flavor. It's a chemical reaction of lighting something on fire. It will change the flavor of the cocktail. Put our aviation off to the side. I saw this one, and I really, really liked it. So I thought that we would give it a try here. I'm gonna grab another martini glass. I'll throw some ice in there. I'll set it off the side. We'll let that guy chill while we're building our cocktail. I'm gonna rinse out my equipment here. A fresh screen. All right. So the Pugo Club cocktail, P-U-G-U. I don't know where the Pegu Club is necessarily, but I like the idea. I thought it looked good. So we're going to give this one a go. We're going to give this one a try. So I'm going to lime out here. First, once again, going to put my ice in here. Not too much, it's about 2/3 of the way up. And we're going to start with our gin. Once again, we're talking about gin cocktails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And do my 1.5 ounces in there. Then we're also going to do, it's about a 1/2 ounce of orange liqueur. Just like Cointreau that I have here. Do a 1/2 ounce of that in there. So I've got some gin, I've got some orange liqueur. And we're going to do some fresh lime juice. Once again, I'm going to take the ends off this just because it squeezes better. Cut this in half. Once again, 1/2 a lemon, 1/2 a lime, about 1/2 ounce. There. Nice lime. Or 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice. And a couple dashes of our Angostura bitters. There we go. So a little orange, a little sour from the lime, a little bitter from the bitters. We'll go ahead and give this a nice shake up. Throw our ice out. And our Pegu Punch, or Pegu Club cocktail, I should say, Pegu Punch. Once again, give it a little shake. Give it a little more to drip out. Like that. And I will give it a nice lime wheel to garnish it there. And there it is. There's our Pegu Punch. Our Pegu Club cocktail. I don't know why I want to say Pegu Punch. Oh, so there's a couple ideas, a couple different things. So got just a little bit of time. I want to do one more because I really like this one. So strawberry mint smash. So let me rinse out my food. Screen. And for this one, we're going to need okay. So strawberry mint bash. First thing I'm going to need some strawberries. So grab some strawberries, and we're just going to put a couple strawberries in here. Now, I'm going to put about 3 strawberries in there. I'm going to use one as a garnish here. And I'm going to cut the green off them. Down in there. All right, put my 3 strawberries in there. Again, I'm going to squeeze 1/2 a lemon, so 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. Strawberry, some lemon juice. And of course, I'm going to need some mint. Got some fresh mint from my garden. Gonna put about 4 or 5 of these big leaves in there. That's plenty. And then we need something to sweeten it up. Instead of sugar, we're going to have to go ahead and throw some honey in there. There we go. So we got strawberry, we've got mint, we've got lemon juice, we've got honey. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to mash up the strawberries and the mint. So we're breaking up the pockets of oil in the mint, mashing up the strawberries into a nice pulp. And we are going to come back and double strain this so that none of this is going to end up in the finished cocktail product. We're done with it. All right, so got my mash in there. Put some ice in. I'm going to throw once again my gin, 1.5 ounces. That is our base spirit we're working with, talking about today. All right, lock that on there. Popped in real good. Give it a couple nice shakes. A little dilution. Get that stuff mixed up in there nicely. And then strain it into fresh ice. A Collins glass. Nice tall Collins glass like this. We're going to give a nice double strain here to make sure we get all that material out. So we don't have little bits of mint leaf. We don't have little chunks of strawberry or anything like that in there. And please, please have a little bowl pulling in the top. Don't take your mixing tin and stick it down in there. That is nasty, it's disgusting. Just tap it through. Tap it through. Tap it through. It's just fine. If you really got to mash it, get a spoon, get the bat, use that to mash it. But I can just tap it all through just like that. Perfect. So, last thing would be just to top it off with some ginger ale. Like that. Nice strawberry to garnish it here. On the side. And of course, we'll also need a little mint sprig in there to garnish it. And if I just kind of smack it on the side of the glass here, I can break up those pockets of oil, open up the mint as I drop it in there, try to drop it into it cool. Nice straw there. And I've got my strawberry mint gin bash. So just a couple ideas and a couple things about gin, making a comeback. We're going to see a lot more coming out. We're going to see a lot more people ordering gin drinks because they definitely are making a comeback. They definitely, I believe, are around to stay with the new modern gins that we have. So thank you very much for watching. Next week, we're going to talk about 4th of July was coming up because I will not be here the week after that. I will be getting a knee replacement and I will come back with a brand new knee on the following week once we are into July. So thank you. Have a great week. Be safe, and I'll see you next week.